This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by Unity, the free personal media server. With Unity, you can access, stream, and share any media stored on your computers from your mobile devices. For more information and to download Unity for free, visit getunity.com/knowhow. That's GETYOUNITY.com/knowhow. And by Drobo, a family of safe and expandable yet simple to use storage arrays. Drobos are designed to protect your important data forever. Visit drobo.com/twit and use the code TWIT100 to save $100 off a Drobo Mini, Drobo 4-Bay, or Drobo 5N. On today's show,
you'll know how to FPV your 150.
welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where you build, bend, break, and upgrade, but that's us.
Right.
Yeah. I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Bryan Burnett.
And for the next 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to be showing you a project that we've been playing with so you can take it home and geek out on your own.
Yep, there's quite a lot of stuff on the table here, but
there
can't
is.
help but feel like something might be missing.
Yeah, so last night I took off the props as you're supposed to do anytime you're doing a tune-up, and I may have left the spinners in my lab, so we won't be flying today, but that's fine because we weren't supposed to fly it. It's all about the final assembly of the FPV 150.
No problem then. I mean, I guess the equivalent would be if you were working on a car and you left the wheels off of it?
Yeah, I kind of left the wheels.
We don't need to drive the car today.
Don't need to drive it because actually last week we showed you that this thing does fly.
It does?
What we need to do now is we need to get the FPV system in. Now, I know there are some of you, because I've read your comments in our Google Plus group, who are not planning to FPV your craft just yet. We've got a future episode just for you where we're going to show you a couple of directional aids, a couple of ways to fly a 150 without the use of an FPV system.
Yeah, it's called flying it really close to your body.
Really close to your body.
Because you won't see it as it goes.
And also using LEDs so that you can keep orientation.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Now, adding the FPV system will add about 30 to 40 grams to your total build. So just know that if you are really close to your budget, you're going to have to free up that much space and that much weight in order to make it underneath the 250 gram limit that is, well, required by the FAA.
Right, and if you go over that limit, you will then have to register, and put the sticker on, which adds another like 2 grams.
Yeah, but also that would defeat the purpose of the build. The whole idea was to make something that you wouldn't have to register. Right. Although you will have to carry around a scale now, because if you ever get questioned, you can pull it out and put the craft on, say, under 250 grams, go away, officer.
You know what? No, I'm expecting the officer to carry around a scale.
That's right. You prove.
Yeah.
You prove this is over 250 grams.
Exactly.
Also, I would keep like 5 or 6 grams just sort of in your back pocket, because when you crash, dirt gets heavy.
Keep an air canister with you so you can...
Yeah. Okay. Now, folks, we're going to do this live. I didn't want to do a pre-recording because this part of the assembly is actually pretty simple, but there are a lot of different ways to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the most basic, the one that took me 10 minutes to complete the entire thing.
Cool.
Because it's one that you'll probably start with. And then we'll get into some more of the custom solutions. I'll show you what those look like a little later. Ooh. There is a nice way to give this craft not just stability, not just rigidity, but also really nice mounting points for the receiver, for the antennas, for the FPV transmitter, for the antenna, and even an anti-shake plate for the FPV camera,
nice.
which will be nice.
Now, I think this project probably requires a little bit more forethought than any of the other builds we've done, because you're so limited on space.
Yes, it does. And not only that, but when we were planning this, because we were limited on space and because we're limited on weight, we left the build open. This was very unlike the previous builds we've done here on Know-How. So it's not the original FPV 250, it's not the Alien X, it's not the Know-How 250, where we gave you an exact part list and gave you exact procedures. Here, we're assuming that you've watched those previous series, so you kind of know your way around a quadcopter, you know what the basic parts are, and instead we're just showing you the thought process for creating a craft this small.
Cool.
Let's get to it.
Let's get started.
All right, so the first thing we're going to do is, we know that this flies. We flew it, yes, last week. We know that it works just fine with the systems as is, but we need to add a harness for the FPV transmitter. So this is what the FPV transmitter looks like. If go ahead and take that camera so you can show them. This is the transmitter itself. This is the smallest one we could get. We got this from Ready to Fly Quads. It's a 200 milliwatt 5.8 gigahertz transmitter. And the reason why we got this one was because it was small and well, it was the right size.
Yeah, I feel like
the right weight.
That's really tiny. If we had a quarter, it might show it better to scale, but yeah, that's a tiny
You can
guy.
actually get smaller ones than this, but this is the smallest I could get at 200 watts. So some of the small ones get down to like 50 milliwatts, or 200 milliwatts, sorry. 50 milliwatts, and that I just wanted a bit more power than that.
Nice.
Yeah, it cuts through some of the, and actually the nice thing, I'll show you later, this is a really cool channel selection system, so for when you...
Wait, are those buttons?
Well, so this is the button for selecting channels, but those are LEDs, so that's
so
how
it tells
it indicates.
you. Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. The entire kit looked like this. So you have a you have the FPV transmitter, you've got a harness, and then you've got a camera. And this is the camera. It's a little Sony 700 line resolution camera.
Dinky.
It's dinky, but we need dinky because dinky is what fits on our craft. Yeah. All right. So let's do it. What we're going to do first is let's go ahead and take off the top plate because that's where we're going to be installing everything. The bottom plate is completely filled with things like the arms and the ESCs and the flight controller. We need to make space up top. Now, let's start actually with the tools. Okay. So, of course, you're going to need your standard tools. Snips, strips, screwdrivers, pliers, pokers, scissors, blades, basically all this stuff. So this hopefully is in your standard toolkit,
right?
And you're not dropping it on the floor. You're also going to need a soldering kit, and my soldering kit will always include a soldering iron, a nice little slag pit, helping hands, and of course, my solder. We only need to solder 2 wires, so it's not going to be extensive here.
Okay. And when you hold the soldering iron, you hold it by the grip, right?
Yeah, actually, Alex, I think you have a picture of the proper way to hold a soldering iron. This was after much debate.
Right. You wear safety goggles. Good.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if you want to hold it.
That Radio Shack. Actually, I know that iron. That's a Radio Shack iron. That is the approved way to hold a hot iron. And I love the fact that she's using just a blunt iron on surface mount components. That always works.
On a motherboard, it looks like she's going after that battery right there. You got to make sure it stays in there.
Folks, anyone who's experienced with soldering will tell you, if you smell chicken, you're holding the wrong end.
Right. Don't even worry about the pain.
That photo's been going around the internet. It's like, hey, look, great instructions on how to get 3rd-degree burns. Yeah. Let's not do that. All right, so let's open this thing up. Just 4 screws. Remember, we did not Loctite our screws because we knew that we were going to need to open up the top 4 here.
Right.
We did Loctite in the motors, and we did Loctite in the arms because those aren't going anywhere unless we crash. So we took off the top plate. We've kind of already adhered the receiver to this top plate with a piece of double-sided foam tape, but I have removed it for this. So what we need to do is we need to get at the innards here. We have to remove this because we're going to need access to the power distribution board. Specifically, we need to get voltage to our transmitter. Now, in the instructions for this transmitter, I can give it between 7.4 and 11.1 volts, so 2S or 3S. I will never go above 3S on this craft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it straight into the mains. It will get 11.1 volts. It should drive the FPV transmitter just fine. I'm going to use a pair of pliers here to remove my nylon locks. There was a question that was asked in the Google Plus chat room, Brian, about whether or not we use Loctite on these. You don't use Loctite on nylon. It will actually destroy the nylon.
That makes sense. And when you are talking about doing Loctite, you're usually speaking about the blue, right? Because if you use red, it's just not coming
Loctite
back.
red on metal is like welding it. You'll never get it out. I mean, it's the bond is stronger than the metal, so you'll break a screw or a nut before you actually get it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It does make sense. The other thing that we want to remember is when we use nylon naturally expands. So it almost acts like its own Loctite. As long as we give it a nice little snug connection, it will, you want to get that one? It will not fall off.
Yeah, little guy.
That little guy. Go ahead.
Is it loosened up?
Look, it's a four-hand project, folks. Woohoo!
This is teamwork here.
This is teamwork. This is
Can I
what
borrow
team-
the pliers?
Oh, jeez. Fine, baby.
It's
want
really
the
tiny.
pliers. You know, my hands are bigger than yours, and I don't seem to be having this problem.
Harsh, man. You calling me Donald Trump?
Ooh, hey, we don't do politics on know-how, okay?
I'm just talking about
All right,
small
there we go.
hands.
All right, so I got my flight controller unscrewed. We're gonna have to pull this. Be very gentle because depending on how you did your installation, I don't know how much slack you left underneath. I tried to not leave a whole lot, but you don't want to rip this off and accidentally break one of your connections. So just nice little jiggle. A little jiggle.
Easy there.
Commence the jiggling.
Yeah, there's not a lot of space to work with.
No, there's not. So what I need is these right here. These are 12-volt pads, positive and negative. I need to connect that to my harness, which is this. Now, funny thing about this harness, they assumed that we were going to install a JST connector, which is kind of standard. That's how you get power to accessories. But again, we're trying to save weight.
So you're going to just cut that and put it straight to the board?
Yeah, it would be far more modular if I put a JST connector on here. And if I was working with a larger craft, I would.
That would be easy, yeah.
Because it helps the service. But we've already made a couple of compromises on this craft. That's why we're not using pins, and we have it soldered straight in. That's why we've cut our wires down the length, because we know that the weight is more important than maintenance at this point.
So this means that once you put the FPV system in, we're not taking it back out.
Well, at least this harness. The nice thing about it is I will keep the other two parts. I will keep this plug, and I will keep that plug, which will allow me to remove the camera and remove the harness from the transmitter, but this harness will be hardwired in.
Okay.
So, yeah, even if I decide not to fly with FPV, that's going to be a part of the craft.
Okay.
Now, you'll notice my power wire is really, really long, and I don't need that.
Yeah, that's just extra weight that we can get rid of.
Yeah, this is what, like 4 inches. I don't need 4 inches, or it might actually be 5 inches. What I need is about half of this, because again, I don't want a lot of slack inside of my craft. Otherwise, it makes it even more crowded. Right now, it's
more crowded, added weight, chance that it could get caught in a prop.
Precisely. Yeah, and actually, that one is the worst, because getting one of these wires stuck in a prop is a sure way to down your craft.
Well, I can't say I haven't done that. On the FPV 250 that I did, like one of the wires almost got cut as it was flying because it caught one of the props.
And the beer lifter that I made, the big crash was because it actually sliced through one of the ESCs.
Right.
So one of the 4 corners only had one motor, and it was out of balance.
It was a pretty epic crash, though. It was a good one.
It was a good crash. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're going to cut this. I want about that much slack.
Okay.
And there we go. So that much slack so that it gives me a little bit of work room, because again, I'm going to be taking this top plate on or off. If I only did that, it would be almost impossible for me to do it. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of wiggle room.
Is this one of those measure twice, cut once kind of things?
Normally, yes, but this is measure on TV, so just cut it. Okay, so what we're going to do is anytime we've got wires that we've cut, we need to strip them, we need to tin them.
Right.
You want to do this, Brian? You remember how to strip and tin?
I do remember how to strip and tin.
Practice?
On the show, though?
I know, no pressure, right? No pressure. They're just going to make fun of you if you get it wrong.
I feel like this high pressure situation.
Okay.
I can do it.
Okay, so we've got our wires. I'll strip them down for you. What we want is we want to tin them, and you remember how to tin. Tinning is you heat the wire. Typically put a little dab of solder onto the wire. In fact, I'll do one and you do the other.
Okay.
And it allows me to transfer heat into the wire, but then I want to heat the wire, not the solder.
Right.
Because if you heat the solder, what will happen is you'll just glob the solder onto the surface.
And that doesn't help.
Yeah, that's bad. It's actually really bad, because you might have a cold solder there, and that means that eventually when it vibrates,
break apart.
It'll just break apart. So I'm gonna twist these a little bit together. I'm gonna put it into my helping hands, which are actually quite helpful.
Yeah, much more than me probably.
And let me do the red one here, and I'll let you do the black one.
Okay.
So whenever I've got my iron heated up, this is a 45 watt, by the way. No, sorry, this is a 40 watt Weller, by the way. I know people have been asking about this. I really
think
like
you're holding it wrong.
I know.
No,
I
wait.
should.
No, wait. You're holding it right. Yeah.
So typically, one of the other things is before I put this away, I always put a little bit of solder on the edge, and I kind of brush it off just so I can put it away clean.
Right.
And the tip, this has been used quite a bit. But yeah.
That actually looks a lot better than some of the other tips that I've seen you use.
That I've been, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
all right.
like to torture yourself.
I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a little glob here, and that's not to put on the wire. That's just to give the iron something to help effectively transfer heat into the wire. So touch it to that. So heat the wire up, and this is why we want silicone, because the silicone insulation will not melt, unlike vinyl, which is basically just plastic. And then, there we go. See, that's it. Now that wire is tinned, which means all those strands have been held together by solder, so that when I put this into the joint, it should be nice and firm.
A lot easier.
Yeah, all right. So you go ahead and try the black one. While you try the black one, I'm going to make fun of you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Folks, as Bryan does this, just know that I gave him a soldering kit for his birthday. And
We talked about this. I haven't had a soldering project since my birthday, which is kind of sad, but been busy with other stuff.
Yeah, you have been a busy person. I understand that. And you know what? I don't look down on you for not soldering, because it just means that you don't have as much solder fumes in your head as I do.
Yeah, I don't know if that helps me or not.
Okay. So remember, you want to put a little bit of solder onto the tip itself. Don't hold so close. You don't want your fingers close enough.
Wait, so that instructional picture that I saw earlier was not helpful?
I know it. They lied. Yeah. So and remember, all that is that's a bridge to more quickly transfer the heat into the wire.
Right. And now I want to heat up the wire, right?
Yeah. There you go. And then a little touch. There you go. See? Boom. Bryan, you're done. Easy, right?
I could have been soldering all this time.
You are a soldering fool. That's what you are.
Nice.
Okay. Now this part, this is going to be a bit more pain in the buddy. Because we have to get into the middle of this mess and we don't want to disturb our current wiring harness. Now, if you know for a fact that you're going to be FPVing from the very beginning, what I would suggest is you do this step when we did the assembly of the harness. The reason why we didn't do it is because we had people who said, I'm going to get this, but I'm not going to fly FPV.
Right.
And I didn't want them putting a connector they didn't need.
I think if I was doing this project, I would be flying FPV from the start.
Yeah.
Just because this device is so tiny
It
that
is.
I really want, and I want to fly FPV.
It's fun. It's fun. And really, at the speeds that this thing flies, it's like, it is flying like a speeder, especially when you get low to the ground.
Do you ever get that motion sickness, like some people do from VR?
I do if I'm watching. I don't if I'm flying, because if I'm flying, the craft is doing what my hands are telling it to do, and my brain's okay.
That makes sense.
But when I watch people fly FPV through a set of goggles, I get sick.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, because the only other FPV experience I've had is when we set up the 450 with FPV,
Right.
and it was like it kept cutting out.
Yeah.
And
that's scary.
that moment when the screen goes black and you don't know where the craft is like kept making me have little minor heart attacks.
Which is why we're going to talk about some ground rules for flying FPV after this, because even though this is a craft that we've built to fit under the FAA regulations, you still want to fly it safely.
Right.
And there's a few things we can say about that. All right, let's jump back into this. Again,
Cool.
Easy installation. What we're going to do is we're going to take these two pads that are at the very front of the craft, and I don't know if you can get in here, but you'll see this pad right here. This is a negative pad, so that's 12 volt ground. And this pad over here, this is 12 volt positive, so that's where we're getting our power. So we want black on this side, we want red on this side. Now, I did do something that is kind of a cheat, because I knew it was coming up.
What?
But you'll notice I pre-dabbed each of these pads. So I already heated them up, and there's a dab of solder, which means
And it doesn't look like a lot of solder.
Nope, it's a tiny bit of solder, but what that allows me to do is rather than having to add solder, I just reheat these, put the wires in, make sure it all flows, and then it's done.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let's do that.
All right.
Okay, that was a screw.
What?
Never mind.
Where did it come from,
I'll
though?
find that was from.
Oh, it was from the. Oh,
That's all right. Hey, you know what?
That's
we don't,
gone.
Yeah,
You'll
we don't
never
need that,
find
okay? That wire was just disturbing me.
That's one thing about this painted floor that we have.
I know.
Is that
it's
if
camouflage.
Yeah, you're
It's
never gonna
instant
find a screw.
camouflage. All right. So do me a favor, and can you? Actually, no.
What do you want?
don't want
You
it-
want a helping hand?
Just can you hold that a little bit off to the side?
Right next to this
Like that.
burning
That's the
hot
really
solder?
hot iron, because I need to be able to get the iron in here, but not hit any of my wires, because that would be a bad thing.
Right. There's a lot of trust going on here.
You fool. Sorry.
Finally.
Oh gosh.
Would it be easier if you took the nylon pillar
Yes.
out?
Okay, here we go.
Okay, the solder is heating up there. Looks very melty.
Normally I would do this with helping hands,
but
because we have to keep an angle on it. Now you know why it takes me so long to do all my pre-records, because I have to get the perfect angle every time I'm doing soldering. Oh, there we go. Got it.
Yeah, it would be much easier to solder if you weren't trying to record it at the same time.
Yeah.
Heating it up. Okay. Oh.
There we go. Oh, wait,
nope.
Nope. Negative. We have, you know what? Okay.
See, no, this is good, because this will help people who might feel discouraged.
I'm going to cheat here, Brian.
What are you going to do?
Go to the wide angle, because I'm going to cheat.
How are you cheating?
I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing.
Oh, you're putting the iron on the wire and pushing it down into the solder?
Shh, you did see that.
Don't worry. In the magic of editing, I will not cut this out.
That's one. Okay, can you
hold it on
the
that
other
side? Sure.
And actually, here, could you hold this for me?
Ah!
Thanks.
I would, but I don't have safety goggles on right now.
And a motherboard that I can use it as a probe on.
Right?
It's fantastic. All right, here we go. Another nice thing about this iron is it actually has LEDs.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about it.
Originally, I hated that because it wouldn't work with my regular solder stations, but I've really come to enjoy that feature. It's a great feature. You can always use more light.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
I was gonna say it doesn't look like it's in there very good.
That one is not to my liking.
Sorry for the poor camera angles, folks, but this is the best we can do with such tiny components.
That is absolutely. Don't show Smitty.
Yeah, please, nobody tell Smitty about this.
Don't tell Smitty. Actually, although Smitty was very understanding of the last one, he's like, "Hey, it works."
Yeah, I mean, Smitty's understanding. He just judges you intensely.
All right, so let me disconnect that because we don't like having a hot iron
on the table.
Because I might just feel the need to grab it.
It looks like it's going to fall off the stand there.
It will be funny because then it will burn through the floor. So I'm okay with that.
Sure.
All right, so before we seal this up, let's go ahead and make sure it's actually working. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and connect the camera.
Okay.
So we've got this.
God, that thing is so tiny.
We like that. Okay, so camera's connected. And let's go ahead and connect the transmitter. Remember what I told you about transmitters. You really don't want to connect a transmitter without the load on it.
Right, because you could burn it out.
You can. They don't like that.
Right.
They need the energy to go someplace, and if it's not going someplace, it can, especially if it's not a really well-designed transmitter, it can blow it out.
Isn't that the same with like routers and other things that you have to have antennas attached to?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, less so. Those normally have pretty good filters. But like if you have ham equipment, and you try to power up ham equipment without the proper antenna on it.
Do you think that's what happened?
Like we've done here.
Turn her on.
Many times. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Okay. So Alex, I think you should get this once I give some power.
Unlimited power.
Either that or this is about the smoke, so you may want to take a step back. There we go.
Ah, no, we're good.
All right, so
hey,
how about that?
bad.
So our camera is working, our transmitter is all good, although yeah, the resolution is a little on the crapola side right now. That's not great. That's not great. Although that's because of the upscaler.
Right, we had to do some trickery to get this to work on the cameras.
This is not a high definition source. All right, now we got to button it up. So we know it works.
Cool.
Let's go ahead and close everything up. And then we got to get it strapped to the top plate because remember, the issue with the 150 is everything needs to fit.
It's very compact.
And it doesn't always
And the battery is
fit.
going on the bottom, right?
Battery is going on the bottom.
Okay.
So we're reversing the process. Let's go ahead and disconnect this because we don't want to have anything connected that doesn't need to be connected while we're doing this. So remember, the flight controller needs to be facing the right direction. That should be obvious because otherwise it just won't work right.
So this might be a little difficult without that screw that you lost.
Well, I mean, that was a top screw.
Oh, it was a top screw. No
So,
big deal.
I know, who needs that? So if you could go ahead and do that. Go ahead and start putting that together.
Sure.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a break and thank the first sponsor of this episode of Know How, while Bryan buttons up our quadcopters. Now, folks, we know that you like quadcopters. We know that you like drones, but something else we know you like is media. You like having all of your media, your pictures, your movies, your videos, your camera memories in one place. Unfortunately, that's not the easiest thing in today's digital age because you probably have multiple devices. Well, you've got what? A laptop, a desktop, maybe a couple of those, probably a phone, a tablet, and you've got your media and your accounts scattered every which way. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a software, a service that could take all of your treasured moments, all of your music, all of your movies, and put them in one place? Well, now you do, because we've got Unity. Unity is a different way to think of your media management. It lets you take back the power of the things that you've bought or the memories that you've made. It's a free, easy to install personal media server that connects your devices so that you can access all of your content on the go without any syncing, uploading, or configuration. Now, Unity lets you stream your entire music collection to your mobile device, even iTunes Music. You can stream your movie collection while you're traveling. You can share any of your media with your friends in peer-to-peer sharing, and your friends can stream directly to your computer. You can install Unity on every computer you want to access, and Unity will unify all your media and files into one organized menu in your Unity app. You can also automatically merge your iTunes accounts and libraries. This is great for families or when you've got multiple devices. Let's say you've got an iTunes account for the kids and one for you, for your movies, because you've got Game of Thrones and they've got Barney the Purple Dinosaur. Well, this lets you take all those different pieces of media, all those different accounts, and turn it into one big smorgasbord of content. It also lets you access all your Lightroom or Apple photo libraries and photo albums, and you can post your photos stored on your computer directly to Instagram, as well as streaming and sharing your GoPro videos. You can even AirPlay to stream music or video to your TV. Here's what we want you to do. We want you to try Unity. Create your own private personal media server at getunity.com/knowhow. That's getunity.com/knowhow. Do it today and access all your media and files on your mobile devices for free. That's getunity.com/knowhow. And we thank Unity for their support of Know-How. So, Bryan, we've gotten it all buttoned up.
Got it all buttoned up.
Ooh, look at that. It's so tight.
Got those little nylon
it is a little
there.
disconcerting every once in a while because you were kind of squishing down power cables.
Should I not have been
No,
squishing down
that's
the
what you
power
had to do. So you did.
I just wanted to make sure it was flat while I was tightening these down.
You did good, Bryan.
I
But
did
just
good?
to make sure, let's plug it in, make sure that we have no blue smoke.
Right.
Normally I would use a multi-tester, but it's more entertaining this way. And if it does blow out, it'll be good for TV. Hey, how about that? Look. Boom. Everything's happy.
Okay,
All right.
cool.
So what we need to do now is we need to actually mount the components. Last week, you remember, the receiver was foam taped to the top of the plate, but the receiver antennas were kind of flopping around.
Yeah.
We don't really want that.
Yeah, we've got the little antennas right here.
Yeah.
These guys.
And now we're going to be adding an FPV antenna. We definitely don't want that to be flopping around.
No.
And we're going to do it the cheap way. The cheap way is foam tape and zip ties.
I was going to say that my go-to, zip ties, duct tape, and whatever else I have handy.
You want to use the smaller zip ties because again, if you use the larger ones, they're heavier. And you don't really need the larger ones. These are tiny little components.
No.
So here's what we've got. We need to mount an FPV transmitter,
Okay.
the receiver, the antennas, and all the associated cables to the top plate so that they don't jiggle around while we're flying.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. So let's start with, what color do we want to use? Let's use yellow.
Yeah, that's easy to see.
Yeah, yellow on black. How about that?
We'll call this the Bumblebee FPV.
We are never calling it that.
What?
No.
That'll be my FPV.
Okay. So this is actually pretty simple. So all I need to do is I'm going to put this on the top plate. You want this side facing up on this craft because that button is what allows you to control the channel.
And that's the LEDs for the channels.
And that's the LED. So if they're pointed down, you won't be able to see them.
Right.
And you just go through the frame like this. Actually, overhead's good. Go through the frame like this. Run it through the little zip tie, like that. And boop. There we go.
Beep.
Tighten it up.
Nice.
You can use you can use foam tape, but unfortunately what I found is an FPV transmitter builds up a lot of heat. You kind of want it to have contact with the surface. It spreads the heat a tiny bit.
Well, another reason to have it on the top too, because if it was cramped underneath, it might not get as much airflow.
Precisely. All right,
Cool.
So there we go. This is moving around right now because I don't want to tighten it down too much. There we go.
Okay.
So that's my FPV transmitter. What I need is the receiver on the back. I'm going to do the same thing. I've got a piece of foam tape, but I don't trust the foam tape to hold it in place.
Okay.
I trust the foam tape to keep it in position once I've got it sort of tensioned down.
Right.
Which is what I'm going to do.
And to reduce vibration, but not to
correct
completely hold it in.
So like that.
All right.
I do the same thing. I'm going to go around the corner. And remember, this is so ghetto, but it is really a lightweight way to do it. And we like lightweight because lightweight means more performance, more flight time, more battery.
That's right.
All right.
And keeps us under that 250-gram limit.
Indeed. So I've got my receiver and my transmitter strapped to the top plate. I do not want my antennas flopping around. As you noticed last week, all it takes is like one quick maneuver and they'll get chopped by the props. So
that's why I was a little nervous when you're flying it over the desk near me.
Indeed. But we've got an easy way to do this, and actually we did this for both the Know-How 250 and for the Alien X. You just use zip ties.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like this towards the back.
Oh yeah, to strap the antennas to?
Yep. One. And two. And the nice thing about this is they're flexible. So it does have a little bit of give. It will allow the antennas to sway, but these are rigid enough to keep the antennas out of the props. See? So what I'm going to do is I just put my antenna through the little frame hole here.
And I like them because it makes the drone look like it has little ears.
It's like a little fuzzy drone, right?
Little bumblebee.
Okay. Now, if I had more time here, go over. What I would do is I would take a piece of shrink tape, heat shrink tubing. That's about the same size as this, and I would just shrink it over the top. But because I'm in a rush and because I'm kind of, just wanting to get this done.
So do the antennas have to be in these little plastic housings?
No, but actually it helps. That's not just wire inside that plastic housing.
Okay.
It's a little PCB.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna, again, we're doing it the ghetto way.
Zip tie everything.
Zip tie. Folks, zip ties are your friends.
When in doubt, zip tie.
Just zip tie it. Okay. And what we're gonna do, what you want to do, I won't do it here, but what you want to do is you want to strip away anything that's not being used. So if you have excess zip tie material.
Wait, we're not gonna just leave all that on there?
No, you want to clean it up a little.
It will look better.
Again, I know it's looking way ghetto.
That is not a good.
So,
we can fix that easy.
Wow. Okay, I didn't realize it would look that
janky.
This is high on the jank is strong with this one.
It's okay. We're getting there.
Oh wow.
Your antennas are really crooked now.
Yeah, I know. Hold on. Let me. I'm gonna do one thing here.
You get a cross zip.
I'm gonna cross zip.
Nah, you probably don't want to zip over the button or the LEDs or block the connector.
Yeah.
Right?
So you want jank? Here comes a whole new level of jank.
There's got to be a better way to get the transmitter.
Oh no, there is, and we're gonna show that to them.
Okay.
But
for the time being,
this is the crazy jank way. Okay. Yeah. So go to the overhead. That's your craft.
Yeah. Let's fly this bad boy.
All right. Ready to go. No, we're not. Okay, but that's just the transmitter and the receiver and the antennas. And by the way, let's put the big. Where'd the big antenna go?
We had a big antenna? Oh, wait. You mean this guy? Is it like the 2.4 gigahertz one?
No. We were just holding it.
This one?
Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah. So,
I'm sorry. It was right in front of you.
Look, when you're drunk and trying to do a show, sometimes you just do best effort.
That's
okay?
every show.
That's every show. All right, so we do need a camera. An FPV system doesn't work real well without a camera, but the problem is, how do you stick a camera on the front of this? Now, we could go jank and just foam tape it to the front. But there's an issue, and the issue is, and you saw this last week, this thing does tend to vibrate. It's a little unbalanced.
Right.
So you want some natural platform that will reduce the amount of vibrations that make it into the video.
Okay.
We have that.
What is it? Foam. Another high-tech, not
super
jank.
high-tech, totally not jank. This is specially designed. Actually, no, I got this out of the box that held the Raspberry official screen. It's actually the perfect height to fit inside the cage. Now, I know there's gonna be people who laugh at this, but almost all of us, if we're electronics people, we have a lot of this hanging around, and this is incredibly good. Now, don't get the styrofoam. You don't want the high density styrofoam.
Right.
This is like the lower density, kind of flexible foam.
It has some give to it.
It has some give, and that give's important because you want the camera to kind of semi-float free.
Yeah.
You don't want the vibrations to make it into the camera, which will then make it into your goggles. So I've already cut a piece.
Yeah. Oh,
I did it this morning, and I'm continuing in the jank theme.
Yeah, look at that. It looks like it's sitting inside a little watermelon, piece of watermelon there.
It's so bad. This works. I flew with this.
Nice. Look at that. Oh, God.
And this, hey, you know what? This cost a whole, probably 3 cents.
No way.
I know, right? I know. You never would have guessed. You never would have guessed. Okay,
No.
now the nice thing about this is because of the way that the posts are arranged, I can actually just spear this. And now it stays at the front of the craft. Shut up! Hey, this is professional.
IR drone. IR professional.
I am great brain. Now I am leaving for no reason.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Let's just get it all
Let's
put
just
together.
get it all put together.
I wish we had one of
Oh
those
my
moments,
gosh.
though, where we just like, okay, and now we'll put it in the oven, and when we take it out, it will be perfect.
It will look perfect.
That's not how we work.
I thought about doing that and like making a montage where suddenly it looked great. And I'm like, okay, no.
You should have had a backup drone where it was just pristine and like really beautiful. And you're like, now that you have this, let me bring out.
No, this is what we actually created.
Yeah, this is what yours should look like.
All right, so this is a little bit tight because I'm a bad.
Because there's a lot of foam on there?
There's a lot of foam. Yeah.
Would it help if you snip some of those zip ties, or are you gonna wait?
I'm gonna wait. I want to reach max jank,
Maximum.
and
jank.
we are quickly approaching max jank levels. Oh shoot! This one didn't make it in. Don't you hate when your foam doesn't upgrade properly?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
See this? Okay. Bad Padre. Get in there.
And this
There we
is
go. Okay.
A reason to never throw away any of that packing
Yeah,
foam.
exactly, folks. I don't care what your parents or your spouses or your roommates say. Everything can be useful. If there's one thing we learned from Mark Watney, never throw anything away.
That's right, especially potatoes.
I am a potato. Sorry. Okay. Here we go. Now let's button this back up.
Okay. Yeah, maybe get a close up on
Oh my
that.
gosh. I don't think I've ever.
It's so sad with the antenna flopping over to the side like that.
Such a sad craft.
Does it please you to see me ugly, creator?
Of course, you realize that we're doing it ugly because I've already figured out a way to do this beautifully.
Yeah, I'm sure. But you know, doing it beautifully takes time.
It's actually under the table too.
What?
Yeah.
I wasn't just making that up.
Don't look. Don't look. That's for the next part of the show.
I still feel like we need a drone box or something where we put the janky drone in the box, and then when we cut, it comes back out pristine.
Okay, these are totally not screwed in properly, but I'm gonna do it anyways because we just want to get on to the next segment because we need to move because Alex is gonna start.
He started giving us the countdown.
Yeah, the stink eye. All right, so here we go. This is what a super jank kind of really ghetto craft looks like.
I think social guy in the chat room nailed it. Your drone should be 10% components, 89% zip tie, and 1% foam.
Foam. That's pretty much what it is. All right, go to the overhead, Alex. So this is what it looks like. Okay,
It
get
could
the
fly
pointy
like that,
pointy
right?
parts. They won't look like that. Okay. Oops.
Oh.
That one. I did that. That's bad. But that's more or less what it's going to look like. Let's go ahead and plug this in and see if
I think the only
our
thing you're
FPV
missing
works.
is hot glue. Like, just start hot gluing everything.
I was actually going to hot glue the camera.
Ah, I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. So this,
Imagine this zip tie flying.
yeah, if you were to throw a ball of zip ties, this is what it would see. Now again, that the bad video, that's because of the conversion, but it actually looks pretty dang good in the goggles, in the FPV goggles that I've been playing with. Now, Bryan,
Yeah.
If they wait around, I'm actually going to show them a much better way to do this.
Okay.
But if you just
gotta
were looking for a way to finish off your FPV 150,
Right.
this is it. A little bit of foam, a couple of zip ties, and a lot of tolerance for something that looks ugly.
But you're going to want to stick around to see the beautification.
Yes, we've got some beautification coming up. And actually, we need to talk about your FPV system, the other side, what you're actually going to be using to receive it,
Right.
because that's kind of important. But before we do that, you know what?
What?
Let's go ahead and thank the other sponsor of this episode of Know How. Folks, we do a lot of content on this show. And a lot of content means a lot of files for all the media, all the videos that we've created, all the segments. We need a way to organize them and to access them quickly. Well, you could just get another hard drive, drop it into your desktop, or maybe a bunch of USB drives for your laptop. That will work, but if you're looking for a truly unique, well-connected solution, you got to go with Drobo. We've been using Drobo here at TWiT since the very beginning. Back in the cottage, they were a sponsor of Leo's because they understood new media. They understood the new generation that they were trying to reach. They understood that you're looking not just for a generic network-attached storage box or a USB or Thunderbolt-attached storage box, but you were looking for a solution that was specifically designed for your needs. And that's what Drobo does. Now, Drobo's 5N is perfect for network-attached storage as a media server, file server, or a backup solution. It's easy to use. You just plug it into your switch or router, and you're ready to go. Now, the apps let you back up data to 2 different cloud service providers or sync via BitTorrent Sync, and it also works well with Plex on the new Apple TV. If you're a photographer, why not check out the Drobo Mini and the Drobo 5D? The Mini is what Leo uses to shuttle data back and forth between the studio and his home. The Mini is lightweight and portable. It's just over 2 pounds. It has 4 drive bays for up to 8 terabytes of storage. The 5D is a desktop unit with space for 5 3.5-inch drives and a maximum capacity of 64 terabytes. Both have an optional mSATA SSD acceleration bay. I like this part. Now, it's just like cache. Remember the old cache system on your CPU where if it guesses right, then everything is much more speedy? Well, that's exactly what the mSATA does. It caches the most popular information on your drive, the most used files. And if it guesses right, you get lightning speed. Now, we've been using Drobo not just because we like the fact that they build it for solutions, for the specific situation that we have, but also because they offer such a wide variety of solutions. Do you want network attached? Do you want USB attached? Do you want Thunderbolt attached? All are available and all are ready to serve you the way you need to be served. Now, Drobos are reliable because data received by your Drobo and not yet written to disk is protected if there's a sudden power loss. Anyone who runs a NAS knows that this is the nightmare scenario. Even better, Drobos have an internal eUSB device where data is copied if there's a power failure to protect against long outages. It's also expandable. You can add or replace drives in your Drobo with ease. No tools are required. And their Beyond RAID technology lets you expand on the fly and mix and match drives, so you don't have to buy a complete set. You can just add larger drives as you need more and more storage. It's also simple. The colored lights on the front of the Drobo communicate their status, and it's fast with Thunderbolt, Gigabit Ethernet, and USB 3 connections, all available on the various models. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to visit Drobo at drobo.com/twit to learn more and check out their complete line of products. And when you use the code TWIT100, you'll save $100 off the purchase of a Drobo Mini, Drobo 4-Bay, or Drobo 5N. That's drobo.com/twit, drobo.com/twit, and use the code TWIT100. And we thank Drobo for their support of Know How. All right, Bryan, now that we've got our super beautiful, lovely FPV craft ready here.
That's right.
I mean, look at that. Seriously, that's a craft that only a
Quasi-drono.
Hey, I make up the fancy names here. Okay, they call me the clamps. All right, we need goggles.
Right.
We need a way to view what's on that screen.
And the ones that we did a while back were the ones that you build yourself out of styrofoam, and it has like a little it was a former GPS screen that converted into like a little TV. It was along the lines of zip ties.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to give people options, but first let's talk about antennas because people have asked about this. whether it matters what kind of antenna I use, what, is it straight, is it to the side, is it forward, back?
Right.
Now there are two types of antennas that we need to speak about when we're talking FPV. Okay. There's linear polarization and there's circular polarization.
Okay, and that's the different shapes of the antenna?
Right, so this is linear. Now linear looks like any antenna that you've seen if you've ever had like a Wi-Fi router.
Yeah.
And the idea is they're actually pretty good. They're very simple devices, and they allow you to get quite possibly the best range of any of these, the two technologies that we're talking about.
Right.
Because you can use a high gain linear antenna to sort of boost your range.
Right.
But there's a problem.
Isn't that with the idea that it's not going to be mobile? It's not going to be moving much?
Yeah, yeah. And the problem, exactly, you put your finger on the problem. When you're moving, especially, you're going to create echoes because you have the signal bouncing off of various surfaces. And then what you get is what's called a multi-path fade. So as those signals bounce, they're all going to reconverge on the receiving antenna, but they'll arrive at slightly offset times, and you get a really messed up image.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and so that's why we don't typically use linear antennas for FPV, because it would be great on the ground, and the minute we start moving, you'd lose any coherence.
So that's why we have these funky looking
We have the
antennas.
funky looking polarized antenna. So think of the linear antenna as you've got sort of a signal that's doing this, right?
Right.
Okay, it's a standard RF. With a circular polarized antenna, your signal is actually circling. Now the nice thing about this is it greatly reduces the multipath effect. In fact, it almost eliminates it. It's to the point where the multipath echoes are so low that they're almost not picked up by the receiver.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, but also it means that I could use the exact same frequency and the exact same channel for two antennas that have opposite polarization.
And so they won't interfere with each
other.
other.
Well, there'll be a little bit of interference, but I mean, imagine this. So if this is spinning clockwise and this one is spinning counterclockwise, what will happen is there's only, on every revolution, there's only 2 points at which they intersect.
That makes sense.
Because they're spinning in different directions.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And this is why this is important if you're running FPV, because a lot of times you'll be on the same channel as the people that you're racing against.
Right.
And you can fix it not necessarily by jumping to a different channel, but by changing the polarization of your antenna. So if you do fly FPV, fly with a whole set. So I have like 6 different types of polarized antennas that I can swap out at any given time.
So these all aren't the same? These all have different...
Some of these are 3 clovers, some of these are 4 clovers, some of them are spinning in the opposite direction.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's, you also have to match them. If I'm using the wrong polarized antenna to transmit and receive, it will look horrible.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Yeah, this one only has 3. So yeah,
exactly.
Clover, that's what you call it?
I like clover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but let's actually look at the goggles, because we've got a couple of options here. Now, the first one, and Alex, you've got a link for this, the Fat Shark Dominator, the HD2. I love this headset. I do not own one because I'm not rich.
Yeah, $520 is a bit
it's
to
not
drop
just
on that.
$520. That's $520 without the receiver module. So you still have to buy the receiver. But that's nice because it means the headset is separated from the receiver. So I can buy the headset and then just put any receiver module from any FPV system.
Okay, well that's nice.
That's nice, but I mean, you're talking like $600 for a complete system.
And that's like the one you always see people using on like Flight Test and some of the other ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the professionals, the ones who like say won that FPV challenge in Dubai.
Right.
They're using Fat Sharks or they're using Immersion RC.
Okay.
Those are really, really good headsets. I'm a little cheaper because I don't have that kind of cash. I actually went with this. Alex, you've got a link for this. This is a Sky Zone. What I like about this is its diversity, so it's dual antenna. It does have the receiver built in, so it's a little cheaper. And actually, Alex, if you go to that link, you'll see it's half the price.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I like about this is it's got a button on the side here where I can flip it between the FPV input and the camera in the front.
So if someone's trying to sneak up on you, well, more so you can like maybe see your drone.
Right. Yeah. So if I need to like locate when I just hit this, and it actually gives me a nice wide angle.
That's nice to have because
this will also do head tracking if you wanted to. But like that Fat Shark, it will actually, there's actually an SD recorder on the goggles, so it can record what you're seeing.
Oh, okay, cool. That's handy to have.
It is handy. And you know, if I had the cash, I probably would go with the Dominator.
Yeah.
And actually, I've been keeping my eyes open for like a used one.
Right.
That someone might be trying to dump. So.
But $600, how many drones is that? That's like,
it's a lot of drones.
Like 2 or 3 of our drones that we would build.
Yeah. Now, if you want to go jank, if you are broke as the drone.
That's me, Padre.
Okay, so you know this one, Brian. You know it. You love it.
That is a broke drone.
It's the Quantum FPV bundle. Alex, you got a link for this.
That's the one.
That's the one. Look, $74.99, and that's $74.99 for everything. That includes the camera, the transmitter, the receiver, and the goggles.
So it's a good, like, getting started one, right?
Remember these?
Yeah, I do remember. I tried duct taping the receiver to it and stuff. Tried to make it one whole unit, and it just like
not so much
weighed down my face.
Yeah, yeah. But we do actually have a video we played not too long ago. But now that we have an FPV project, hopefully people will be able to take advantage of this. Hey, Alex, can you show them how this actually comes together?
The Quantum FPV is an all-inclusive first-person view bundle for under $100. Out of the box, the kit contains a 200 milliwatt transmitter, receiver, Sony CCD camera, 4.3-inch LCD screen, lenses, housing, strap, and all the cables to connect your FPV system. The Quantum is a DIY and low-cost setup, so it may look a little jank, but it's a great way to get up and running with FPV on a budget. Assembling the kit starts by binding together the two halves of the housing to encase the LCD screen. I recommend Gorilla Glue, but you can use any adhesive that you want. Just remember that you want something that will bond strongly after drying and not rot over time. While you're bonding, make sure to install the foam strips into the housing's indentations. These strips will put force on the lens holder so that you can adjust it as needed. The next step is to mount your preferred lens into the holder. Don't use glue because you may want to swap out the lens. Instead, just use small strips of clear tape to hold the edges to the frame. Using a dab of glue, attach the cross pieces to the lens frame. These will be the parts that are held by the foam strips in the housing. Set aside the housing pieces so that the glue can set, then open up the radio box and take out the transmitter, camera, wiring harness, and one of the circular antennas. On the back of the transmitter, you'll find a single connector for power and signal, as well as a dip switch block for setting channels and bands. This is what will allow you to run multiple FPV systems simultaneously. Connect the antenna to the transmitter. Important note, always connect an antenna to your transmitter before you power it on. If you don't have it connected, you can damage your transmitter. Take a look at the wiring harness. On one side, you'll see a JST connector. This is the power side. Now connect the transmitter and camera to the other side of the wiring harness and connect a 12-volt power source to the power side. You should see the power light on the transmitter. Power it down and set it aside. Now let's assemble the receiver. You'll need the receiver itself, the other circular antenna, the RCA to 3mm cable, the Y-power cable, and the LCD screen. Connect the antenna to the receiver, then connect the power and 3.5mm cable to the ports on the bottom of the receiver. Connect the RCA ports from the signal cable to the RCA connectors from the LCD screen. Apply a 12-volt power supply to the Y connector and the screen and receiver should turn on. Reconnect power to the transmitter assembly and, assuming that you haven't changed any of the default channel and band settings, you should see the image from the camera show up on your LCD screen. Let the system run for half an hour to make sure that everything will continue to work. You may want to practice changing transmitter and receiver settings so that you can change them at will in the field. Along with the kit comes another cabling harness that has a USB connector on one end. This is an interface cable between the FPV transmitter and a GoPro camera. Connect the non-power end of the harness to the transmitter, then connect the USB connector to your GoPro and power it up. You'll see standard definition video out of your GoPro, usually with a better picture quality than the Sony CCD camera. Now that we know that the system is working, let's put the screen into our housing. Insert the LCD screen into the housing so that it fits into the notch of each half piece, with the bottom of the screen on the half that has the nose cutout. Insert the lens assembly, then bond the top half. I like a little extra adhesion, so I used black gaffer's tape to strengthen the bond and cover my sloppy glue work. If you assembled it properly, you should now be able to move the lens within the housing to focus the image to your liking. Take a blade and cut 2 slits to the pre-marked indents. This is where the head strap will go. Then attach the longer strips of foam tape to the top and bottom of the housing where it meets your face. Take your time and test fit it against your face to make sure that there are no rough patches or pressure points. Using a flat edge, push each end of the strap into the slits that you cut into the housing, then secure the edges within the housing. There you have it, an FPV headset that only a true geek could love.
Looking super cool.
I know. And there is no way not to look cool wearing FPV goggles.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Now, one quick teaser, because this is finishing up FPV 150. We will do a flight. We will do a couple of flights just for fun before we do the big competition where the two of us are going to do building the same one at the same time. But remember, we need to be under 250 grams. What do you got over for the overhead here, Alex? Okay, there we go. So let's turn this on, tear it out, 0. So the craft.
Yeah, let's flip it so people can read it.
Okay, the craft, about 147 grams with the battery. This is the full battery, 224 grams. I add the props, that's another, what, 4 grams. So this is way underneath my, my limit. I actually could increase the amount of equipment that I carry, and I will, because I'm looking at adding telemetry. But what I like about 224 to 230 grams is it means I've got plenty of allowance, and also it's going to increase my performance and my battery time.
Right. Because what do you think flight time are we looking at? 10 minutes?
Probably pushing it hard, probably about 8 minutes.
8 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's how you fly this. You push it hard.
Yeah.
But
is there any other way to fly?
I promised we had a non-jank way to do this build, and this is it. If you'll go to the overhead, Alex, you'll notice these are a lot of frames I've been working on, a couple of different prototypes. The idea was to give myself an installation mounts for both the FPV transmitter, for the receiver, for the antennas, and a non-vibration mount for my FPV camera.
Oh,
and so, yeah, we started, the earliest version was something like this, which was just a way to mount the antennas on the back. It would use the same screws. And then it went from that to this. I went through a couple of different versions. I was trying to figure out, the right way to do it. But then I thought, hey, you know what? Let's get rid of all that. Dang. And this is what I created. This, if you'll notice here, take this. This is super rigid. I used
wow. Oh, sorry.
I used crosswise strengthening. This is more solid than the plate that came with the FPV craft, and this actually weighs just 1 gram more.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
And now the nice thing about this is, so the FPV transmitter will go here. The FPV antenna comes up through this slot. The receiver actually, there's a raised tray, so it'll actually fit down into the tray and it will snap in.
Oh, nice. And then zip tie it into there?
Right, exactly. Now, here's my favorite part. You'll notice up here we've got these 2 holes, and that's for this. This is a vibration mount. So it's a plate that has these 2 little silicone balls on it.
Yeah.
When I mount that to the top of the tray, what that will do is it will isolate this from the craft itself, so the FPV camera will kind of just not vibrate with the rest of the craft.
Right, and you won't get as much as that jello effect.
Precisely.
Nice.
I'm going to make a couple more changes because I think I can get the weight down on this. I think I can actually make it equal the current plate by removing a little bit of structure. But we're going to make this STL available. So if you have a 3D printer, you have the ability to create a custom top plate that has mounts for the antenna, for the receiver, for the FPV transmitter, the FPV antenna, and the FPV camera.
Have you thought about just making the whole quad out of a 3D printed stuff?
Yeah, but
it's cheaper and easier just to buy the frame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there we go. Folks, we know that this has been a lot of material when we do these kind of live build episodes, and we've had a lot of fun. I think we've grown.
No, it's been a blast.
We've learned a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
And we want to help you learn, because we're going to put everything in the show notes, which right now are still going on
twit.tv/KH, where they have always been and always will be for the near future.
Yep.
But you can go there, download the episode, subscribe, and yeah, like Padre was saying, you can find all the links to things we talked about, or download the STL files if you're going to be doing some 3D printing.
I will say, I know people have been complaining that our notes have been dropping off. It's because the site that we have right now is not the best at displaying the notes the way that we want it.
Yeah.
We are actually working on this. I'm doing a little side project when I can find some free time.
Free time? time?
No,
Never.
I need a little bit of free time.
Never. Do you have free time?
But
sleeping?
it's working. So I've got a project database.
Yeah.
I just need to make sure all the content works properly.
That should be a know-how in itself.
It really should be. Go figure. Also, don't forget that you can find us in our Google Plus group. Just go to Google Plus and look for Know-How. We're almost 10,000 users strong. It's a great place to find ideas for new projects, to ask questions, or if you're an expert yourself, to help the newbies. It's all part of being a know-it-all.
That's right. But that's not the only place that you can find us. You can also find us on the Twitters. I am at cranky_hippo.
And I am at PadreSJ. And our technical director,
we have a technical director? He's just the director.
Yukayam. I think his name is Yukayam. Yukayam. You can find him at ANELF3, an L3. And make sure to tell Yukayam that he did a great job.
Mazel tov. Padre.
Yeah.
It's pronounced Alex.
It's that weird pronunciation.
See, he's got too much power. This is what happens when you make fun of him.
Folks, until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Bryan Burnett.
And now that you know how,
go do it.
Jank.
Jank style.